Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, right. Now, first, can you just explain what you do here?
Yes, I'm the manager here at Blowing Rocks Preserve, so I have the opportunity to. I shouldn't sway, right?
It's there. The airplane is here.
I tend to like move a lot when I talk. Is that bad?
No, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was a swear.
See, now I'm like, what is my job? I hate it. I've never asked that question.
What's the usual?
Sorry. That's weird. It was just like when it touched your chest. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
I won't move.
That was bizarre.
I'll try not to move.
That's really weird. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So what do you do?
Well, as the preserve manager, I oversee many of our staff here who work in everything from facilities and maintenance to outreach and education. I have the opportunity to be developing a lot of our volunteer and education outreach opportunities. We're kind of reinvigorating those after a lot of years. I also work closely with a lot of our regional as well as chapter staff on strategic planning initiatives, ensuring that all of our programming here is aligned to the greater efforts with the Nature Conservancy. And I work very closely with a lot of local partners here in our local area as well as throughout the region on different initiatives to do with coral reef restoration, habitat restoration, different things like that.
And what role does the preserve play in in the Nature Conservancy's mission and also in the wider community?
Well, I think that Blowing Rocks Preserve has an excellent opportunity to connect people with nature. We are here at a very urban setting. We are sandwiched in kind of at the northern edge of the South Florida corridor. So we do see over 55,000 visitors a year, which gives us a tremendous opportunity to engage them in educational programming, both through programs and tours offered by our staff, as well as interpretive signage that we have placed around the preserve to really communicate a lot of the Nature Conservancy's priorities, ways that people can help contribute to those and actions they can take to help ensure the success of these habitats in the future. That was bad.
Oh, no, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Habitats,
good.
ecosystems. Okay.
I think that a lot of, and this is a little bit from left field, but I think a lot of what certainly we're trying to do in the video team, but what Nature Conservancy is trying to do is to get people to understand that nature is valuable and plays lots of roles. To me, it seems like this place is so beautiful and it's so accessible to so many people. Can you talk a little bit about how it is teaching people that nature is amazing?
I think that to get people to understand the importance of nature, the first thing that you need to help them do is appreciate it. And I think that here at Blowing Rocks, it's such a stunning landscape and it's so unlike something that a lot of people have seen before that it inspires awe and wonder in a lot of our visitors. So just by coming to a place like this and seeing the beauty of it, it can often inspire people to then want to protect these beautiful places. So I think, we draw them in with the beauty of the place and then we try to provide the educational opportunities to go along with that to communicate not just the beauty, but the diversity and the significance of all of these ecosystems.
That's great.
Right? No.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
I think in the 50 years that Blowing Rocks has been in existence, we have made massive improvements to the landscape itself. We underwent a 20-year massive habitat restoration where we removed thousands of invasive species from the preserve and replanted native plants back in place. That was thanks to the efforts of thousands of volunteers who helped us throughout that effort. So not only were we restoring the landscape, we were engaging the community in learning about why these habitats are important and steps that they can take at home to be utilizing a lot of the native plants that are so beneficial to wildlife. And those are things that we continue to do today. We host educational programming and volunteer opportunities throughout the year, so we continue to engage people in those efforts to communicate those priorities.
and here's a question I didn't ask you before. With all these visitors and operating as a preserve with sea turtle nesting habitat, and you've got 50,000 people a year coming.
Appropriate to say that we do offer somewhat limited hours for visitation. I don't know. I don't really want to say
Yeah,
it
I don't
like
think
that.
it's too
It's
in the weeds
negative.
anyway. I think it,
Not gonna help the story.
yeah.
Be proactive with like
It's just more general.
signage and
More general about, we want people to come, but we also have this dual purpose of educating people, but
yeah.
I'm ready, by the way.
because I think
Okay.
I think that's a point of difference between other places. What makes Blowing Rock
Yeah.
special is, but it's also, I assume, a big challenge as well.
It is a challenge, and I think we just try to be proactive and provide people with the information they need to eliminate a lot of the conflicts with our local habitat from occurring. So I think, for example, during sea turtle nesting season, on our beach, the north end is where most of that nesting happens because it's very sandy, so it's easier for the turtles to make their way up onto the beach. So we have a rule that nobody can stake beach umbrellas in that area during the summer so that they don't impact the nests. So we're very proactive about communicating the reason for that rule, because as long as people understand why the rules are in place, they understand it's really for the benefit of nature, they're very willing to comply because they're here to enjoy nature in itself. So we're very proactive in both the public engagement. When people come to the preserve, we welcome them, provide that basic information. We also have signage that states that information. So I think as long as people are informed, they're much more willing to comply and eliminate those conflicts with the wildlife.
Can you just talk a little bit about, the whole thing of not just saving nature for nature's sake now, it's saving it for people to use. I think this is a really good example of that, so that's why I'm sort of harping on this a little bit. Maybe it's something about how this serves as a model for how, well, actually, I'll just go about this another week. Don't want to put words in your mouth.
A model for other preserves.
Yeah. What can other places learn from what you're doing, the work you're doing here?
My hope is that we are a model both for the work that is occurring on our landscape as well as the way that we engage people in the appreciation and learning about nature. We certainly are a living laboratory. We consistently monitor and make modifications to our landscape to improve things like coastal resilience. For example, planting native dune vegetation on the Atlantic shoreline, or planting mangroves or native grasses on the lagoon shoreline. So that's the way in which I think we can be a model for habitat restoration, and I hope that we can be a model for engaging people as well, because we are welcoming people to come to the preserve and learn about these things. There's a lot of conservation areas that people cannot access because they are set aside for wildlife, which is very appropriate. I don't know where I was going with that. Here at Blowing Rocks Preserve, because we are in such an urban area, we have a lot of people who are interested to visit us, and we encourage that because we want to take advantage of that to engage people and help them understand why we should protect nature for its own sake and the way it benefits people.
Great. And you talked earlier about...
Sure. We have seen different habitats on our landscape already being altered as a result of impacts from climate change. I'd say that that's due primarily to two large forces, one of which is increased and more severe storm events like hurricanes, but also aside from storms, we are seeing regular saltwater inundation of ecosystems that were never used to be impacted by saltwater. So for example, we're seeing higher tides, even during times of the year when storms aren't occurring. So we're already seeing habitats shift. Our more upland habitats are being lost to wetlands. So we really want to try to manage for resiliency in the face of all these changes and ensure that we're able to maintain the diversity that we have, even though we're seeing these changes already taking place.
Have you discovered anything sort of new, groundbreaking in dealing with these challenges?
Didn't Sarah answer that? No, I'm just kidding. I think that because we are more of a living laboratory and we have conservation landscape staff, not landscape, We have land conservation staff who work here full time. We have a unique opportunity to be able to closely monitor many of our systems. For example, there's a highly invasive species of grass called torpedo grass that is a problem here, but also throughout the region. So we have been pioneering different ways to eradicate torpedo grass from the landscape without using herbicides and chemicals that could be harmful to the environment. And the lessons that we're learning here of how to control that naturally, we're looking forward to passing along to our partners so they can engage with those techniques as well.
Okay, so I asked you this twice already, so I'm going to ask.
I think the thing that makes Blowing Rocks so special is the feeling that you get when you visit this place. You know, even when you are walking on our paths, you feel that you are surrounded by nature, which is not the case in so many of these Southeast Florida coastal regions. You know, you really are immersed in the landscape and you get an appreciation for the beauty and the serenity of the place. And when people come to see our preserve as well as the coastal shoreline, you can really immediately get a sense that it's unlike any other place you've visited. I'm just standing here going, gosh, it's so peaceful.
Yeah, it's way quieter than before.
I'm going to look at my little list of questions.
And especially because so many beach areas in South.
Tomorrow with the group.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we are welcoming a group of adults who are
I
visiting.
should do it as if it's
Say
today.
today,
Yeah.
we
Like,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. Today we're welcoming a group who is visiting Florida as part of a birding festival, and they are venturing down to Blowing Rocks Preserve to enjoy a tour, to be able to experience the diversity of habitats that we have here, and also help us out with some land stewardship projects. So they are going to be helping us by weeding invasive species and also taking care of some of our plants in our native plant nursery.
Actually, can you do that again as if it's like just happened or is happening?
Sure.
Instead of they're going to, they are.
Today we welcomed a group of volunteers who were visiting us for an educational program. They enjoyed a tour of the preserve to see the 4 different South Florida habitats that we have here, and they also engaged in 2 land stewardship activities, weeding an invasive grass on the preserve and also taking care of some of our plants in the native plant nursery. Taking care of is, but it's all right. They're weeding, which doesn't sound very...
What are some of the...
For our 50th anniversary, we're excited to launch some very different events than we've offered here in the past. We are offering our winter lecture series, which is a long-standing, very popular event here at the Preserve, and we're also giving people an opportunity to experience the Preserve and see things in slightly different ways. For example, we have 4 sunrise sessions during the year when we will be here at sunrise quite early in the morning, so that photographers and other artists can come and capture the beauty of our shoreline at sunrise. We are also offering specialty tours where we will focus specifically on one aspect of the preserve, everything from beach ecology to adaptive management, to really give people the opportunity to dive deeper into those topics. Dive deeper. That's...
Into the role of the community again?
Yeah, sure. Here, I'll trade in terms of the volunteers and everything that's been done, and then what does Blowing Rocks mean to the community, and that it's a sanctuary, it's a gym, it's a beautiful place that they can come, they banded together to preserve it, and so it's kind of the flip side of
Okay.
the same idea.
Is it appropriate to mention donor support?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And be mindful of. It's in the frame. This is these
Oh
two
gosh, I'm
yeah.
so
Hey,
sorry.
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You're in my shot, Rachel.
More critical during the interviews. You find that. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna, and then I have something else about the CCI, but I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, what does Blowing Rocks Preserve mean to the community?
Blowing Rocks Preserve, I think, is a place for the community to come and experience nature in a very different way than they have the opportunity to in other places throughout Southeast Florida. You know, when you come here, you can see 4 different native South Florida ecosystems, and you can also experience our unique shoreline, which is home to the largest outcropping of Anastasia limestone. So it's a very rocky, different type of shoreline than you'll see other places in Florida. A lot of people in the community also look to Blowing Rocks as an important educational resource, not only to provide educational programming for both youth and adults, but really to serve as experts on land management, removing invasive species from properties, both residential and commercial. So, what was I trying to say there? I think they really look to us for our expertise in those areas of how to successfully manage these coastal landscapes.
Okay, and